Welcome to this video on the building of my 23-foot 7-meter Sharpie. In this video I make a start on the saloon seats and tanks beneath them. I also have a look at the righting moments of the boat and work out the angle of vanishing stability. I also have a look at the design for the sail. Many years ago, a schooner left New Zealand on Friday the 13th to be delivered to an American client. It had 13 crew. The old-timers shook their heads. It was never seen again. True story, and it's Friday the 13th, and I'll be careful today. Well, actually, that story's not quite true. It did actually wreck on a reef. But anyway, as Tristan Jones used to say, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. It turns out I haven't been careful enough, and I've had to stop work on the interior, but I'll explain at the end of this video. Well, I've done all the preparation in here. I've degreased and sanded, radiused these corners, and I'm getting ready for glassing, of course. And then I decided I'd rather do it all in one big hit. If the foam is sitting inset like that here, it's been pre-glassed both sides, of course. Then I can glass over the foam, down here and around along, up and over the glass again, the foam again, and so I can overlap it all in one go. To be honest, I'm having trouble starting today because I'm still trying to decide whether to have these tanks being multi-purpose, like buoyancy chambers, ballast tanks, if it's an extended trip, being able to put some fresh water in them. So it doesn't make a difference how I finish off the insides of the tanks. Well, the guy building the boat down in the shed tells me he's overbuilt the boat. So could we check to see if these spaces below the saloon seatings could be turned into water ballast to compensate for a potential lack of righting moments. So the current situation is the boat off the spreadsheet displaces 800 kgs, and this is the center of gravity here, and so that gives us the righting moments of 312 kgs per meter. So when we take that number 312 and divide it by the length of the mast, it gives us 32 kgs at the top of the mast that would hold the boat over at 90 degrees. It's not quite good enough. The spreadsheet calls for 38 kgs to fall within certain parameters. So we have to have a look at using these potential tanks here for water ballast. So if we go to both tanks, which gives us 160 kgs of water ballast and a total of 967 kgs of displacement, we get the righting moments of 412, which when we do the calculation gives us 42 kgs at the top of the mast, which is more than the 38. So it's a little bit of overkill, but it's good to know that it's possible if you're going to be in conditions that require it. So what if we just use one tank as water ballast, which also gives the advantage of it could be used as movable ballast, which will improve the righting moments sailing on the wind, for example. So that certainly lowers the displacement a bit, by 80 kgs in fact, and gives us 363 kgs per meter of righting moments. So when we do the calculation, 363 divided 9.8, the length of the mast, it gives us 37 kgs at the top of the mast, which is pretty close and probably close enough to the required righting moments for this boat, given its current displacement numbers. So that's the instructions that the builder will get,
to make these tanks possible to be used as water ballast tanks and all that requires. There'll be vents required, a cross tube if it's going to be used in the manner I just talked about. He's going to be grumpy about that, the builder. Just in doing this, it'll add a bit of weight because there's fittings required and there's a bit of technology required. How do you operate the cross tube valve? Well, it turns out I've got something to be a lot more grumpy about, and it's a lot more concerning. On the Saturday, I was cutting up some redwood with my mask on and fitting the fillets inside those tanks to prepare for putting the lid on. And in the evening, it went terribly. Right from the beginning of this job, I've had a problem, some kind of allergy, which has been going up and down. And I never suspected that it would be the redwood until I started using it again for the insides of those tanks for the fillets. It's bad. For the first time in my life, I've got asthma and all the very bad coughing at times that goes with it. Hopefully it comes right because I've stayed away from the boat build for the last few days. In general, I've been quite good with the mask, but as happened on Saturday, I was taking it off every now and then to wipe out the inside because the condensation in it was accumulating and it was dripping on the wood I was working on. Well, I should have got out of the boat and wiped it out in clear fresh air. Big mistake. Big warning, guys. If you're building a boat or working with wood or any dust, wear the gear. You don't want to end up like how I feel right now. Been to the doctor today. Got all kinds of things to get me through what have been one or two difficult nights of coughing. And I've got things to use now like inhalers and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. So now I'm not working on the boat. I wanted to check a few things which I hadn't really spent much time on before. I was pretty confident about the angle of vanishing stability and that it would be pretty close to being around about 170 or something like that because of the shape of the cabin. So I've given you a situation already on what happens when the boat is rolled 90 degrees. The center of buoyancy is here, and I didn't do the simple 2-dimension section like I've shown here. To get that center of buoyancy there, I actually used a 3D hull and took sections through it to find out where that point would be. So I'm very confident that this is very accurate when the boat's rolled 90 degrees, and I've been through that. So I started to do some more rudimentary calculations and to what happens to the boat, and I simply did that by measuring this area here and creating a similar area here when the boat's rolled 45 degrees, then finding the center, and you get this distance here, the gravity, center of gravity, center of buoyancy when the boat's rolled 45 degrees gives you that distance there. So you can see this number's bigger than the original number here when the boat gets to 90 degrees, which is what you'd expect. Now I did a whole lot of in-between tests as well, but you can see why this boat is fairly unstable upside down and wouldn't stay long in this position. Although this is not very accurate way to do it, but it's a primitive way of doing it, and it'll give you a rough idea what's going on, a good enough idea. So there's the center of gravity, there's the center of buoyancy there somewhere. I don't know why it's not showing right now. And maybe it's the same color as that. But anyway, you can see it's virtually, that distance is getting down to 0. So it's getting to the point if the boat rolls a little bit more in this direction, it'll be slightly more stable upside down. For a lot of boats, that's it makes them really stable. And the extreme, of course, is the catamaran, which is extremely stable upside down. But this boat upside down would be rocking around with the center of gravity way up there, be extremely unstable, and if it's all sealed up, which is easy to do with the companionway hatch I'm putting in, it wouldn't stay upside down, I'm very happy to say. And while I'm here, if you're using one of the tanks as a ballast tank, movable ballast tank, that's always an advantage in the boats with movable ballast, because you can imagine if it's here or here, that movable ballast, it's actually moved the center of gravity this direction if, say, this one was full, or in this direction if this one was full. So it makes the boat very unstable upside down. So I'm very confident with doing that little study. I used to have the software to be able to do this extremely accurately if you put all the right inputs in. I was going to build a sail this winter as one of my side projects. There's an area of the house which is almost big enough to build a sail. I have a room about this long. This is the concept I'm thinking of, like a radial sail. I don't know if you'd call it a tri-radial sail, but I could make a crosscut sail. It would take just virtually 3 panels to make the whole sail up, but I want a good looking sail. I don't want, because of the diagonal load that a crosscut has on it, I don't want there to be wrinkles in the sail. Well, as few wrinkles as necessary. So I'm wondering if I'm up for the challenge of building a sail that looks something like this. I've got the material for it already. It's Contender Stormlight 510, I think they call it. It's a material that they typically use for code zeros. So it's going to have, and I've got that material as well, some sun protection, which is an interesting situation on how the sail rolls up, because if it's goes around the mast, as in this situation, and goes around the front of the mast, when you start rolling it up, one side will get left behind by pretty much 1 turn, I guess. So I think if I remember correctly, when I was nutting it out, that means that the sail protection's got to be on the inside of the sail. It's counterintuitive, I know. But I'm also thinking when I make the sail, I'll have a luff rope in it. And I might try it without a track at first, but probably a track down the front of the mast. I'm also thinking if I'm not happy with how this is working, I might set the sail up with the track rotated 180 degrees, which is no problem at all to do with this boat, and then have the twin ply sail off the trailing edge of the mast as in a Lindstrom rig. That's how they originally were. But I'm thinking if I go around the front of the mast, it just gives a bit of a cleaner flow over the mast and around the sail, and that's great for going to windward. And Lundstrom's boat in Sweden was known for being able to go a little bit higher and a little bit faster than compared boats at the time, compared Bermudan boats at the time. So why not give it a go? I've been having a rethink about the wishbone system, and I've tried all other kinds of ideas. A boom down here with a straight foot on the sail. That has issues. Got to have some bearings here, or some way of the poles there, the booms rotating on the mast. You lose a bit of the slow sail area here, which I like, unless you made 2 booms which were more that shape. I've thought about, as I've said before, not having wishbones and just having the sail sheeted down here somewhere onto those pretty stout poles. And I've yet to make the braces for them, so I could beef them up a bit. That would work. There's a lot of boats that are set up like that. But my concern is, once you reef the sail, say the clew ends up here, then this line for the sheeting goes over the cabin top, cuts across the cockpit, goes over the cabin top, and it's also at the wrong angle to keep the right tension on the leech and the foot. So it seems like quite a compromised idea. I'm pretty sure this is how I'll raise the mast. I'll have a block and tackle system here, and on the inside of the boat I'll have a tube going up and a turning block here going back to the winch. And then on this side I might have the same thing, but going to the towing eye. On the inside of that there'll be quite a stout bit of stainless steel threaded rod coming through here. So I might have another block here, so I can actually alter them without going on the foredeck. I can alter the angle of the mast, the rake of the mast. So that's where I'm up to with that. So in the next video, I may be back on the boat wearing all my proper gear, of course, or I might be building a sail. So anyway, thanks for watching.